to roaring rivers that spilled their banks and washed away entire mountain towns. Our senior national correspondent, Justin Michaels, caught up with some residents who are changing the way they rebuild, and they want to be prepared for the next flood. And, you know, Justin, I think it's interesting, as we were talking, they believe now that there's going to be a next one.
You know, and that's the exact same theme we got from every single person we talked to, Jen, whether it was a homeowner rebuilding along one of the small mountain creeks or streams, all of them overflowed their banks, or they were along the French Broad River or the Shenandoah River, small or big bodies of water. Everybody is building back with the expectation that it's going to flood again. And we talked to a guy by the name of Joe Scully. He's a prominent businessman there, owns some restaurants, takes care of a lot of employees. And in fact, because of the flooding that happened in the corner kitchen, one of his restaurants was under nearly 15 feet of water. He moved all of his employees uphill to another restaurant to make sure they kept their jobs.
That's
fantastic. So they're taking care of people. However, as Joe and everybody else there in Biltmore Village is rebuilding their restaurants or their homes or whatever the business might be, they're building with the expectation that it's going to flood again, and that's the Shenandoah River. So it's really concerning, but these folks, again, it's people's jobs, it's people's livelihoods, it's people's legacy. So they're building back by putting maybe the infrastructure for the HVAC system in the ceiling as opposed to the floors, no more duct work, doing things like that in preparation for the next flood.
Yeah, well, you had the chance to talk directly with Joe Scully, and here's what he said about what it looks like to build back after this flood.
Right.
Well, normally the HVAC, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is what that means, would come from underneath. So you'd have all this ductwork running under the building, which, of course, even if you have a nuisance flood, is affected.
Right.
Okay? So what we did is we did away with all ductwork, and we put in cassettes. If you see up here, you've got 2 cassettes in this area. You've got 2 cassettes in the room behind us. You've got a cassette right in front of the cooks. 2 cassettes in the prep kitchen in the back, and 3 cassettes out here, all of it operating independently ventless. And there's an awful lot of them. The idea is to expect that something is going to happen around flooding, and that we're going to have to deal with this again, and we're going to do our best to minimize any or anticipate what might happen.
Did you have the chance to talk to him about how much it costs to make this change?
Basically, a lot more money. He described it as tens of thousands of extra dollars to have the HVAC system installed that way. Those capsules are not inexpensive, and he has them all over the restaurant. So as opposed to having the ductwork in the floors and the vents coming up, we've all seen that. That does not exist anymore. Now, the concern that he had was, even though he put it in the ceiling, they know the water got above that ceiling.
Right.
So if there's a flood like we had during Helene, it may be all for nothing. However, they're trying to take steps to protect.
They're doing what they can.
Right.
You know, 20 years ago, they had impacts they had to rebuild because of flooding.
That's right.
At that time, they didn't think it would ever get that bad again.
No. In fact, it was a few feet less than what happened during Helene. So looking ahead to the future, they're doing something interesting for maybe somebody else who might find this restaurant or own the building or whatever it might be for future generations to find something if they have to demolish and rebuild after a flood. Watch this.
You are in the lowest spot in Asheville right now. It's going to happen. You know, and the thing about it is that what are we going to do in anticipation of that? That's the big question. And for us, as the building owners and as the restaurant owners, well, we're just going to keep moving forward, but we're not going to move forward thoughtlessly. So I think this was kind of a neat idea of like, hey, we know this is going to happen again, and it will be, I think, interesting for the people, whether it's 5 years or 50 years from now, to find these little messages inside the wall, like a message in a bottle.
That's very interesting,
right.
And pretty neat that, you know, they're making sure that that message gets preserved.
That's right, and they're going to actually mark on the wall, behind this wall are time capsules, just so. And it's so sad to think they're ready for another flood. They're making preparations for that. All the while, the water lines from Helene are still all throughout that building and on the windows. We walked up to them, and we're going to actually have that story for you, Jen. We have more reporting from Asheville at the 6-month mark, which was a few weeks ago. But we're going to have more reporting from their business owners and homeowners who are all trying to figure out their way back. But they know that that is their home, that is where they live, that is what they want to do and where they want to be.
So thank you, Justin.
Yeah.